Hi, everybody. I am Cheryl, and I am with JJ Bean Designs, and I am live with you guys tonight as I want to go over something that's what is all the buzz about? All the buzz is about Dixie Belle's newest product, which is the Silk All-in-One. So tonight, we actually got ours in 2 days ago, and so tonight what I am doing is I'm actually going to go over Silk, everything about Silk that you need to know, and we're actually going to paint this thing. We're going to start painting it because I want you guys to see how the paint goes on stuff as well. When you guys come on, please say hello. Let me know where you're watching from. And also, if you are watching on any of the groups, because I am simultaneously streaming to several things right now, please make sure that you authorize StreamYard, because I am using StreamYard to stream, to see your name, or otherwise I don't know who's posting. So anyways, please say hello when you come on. Let me know where you're coming on from. And I always ask, let me know what the weather is like in your area, because I love learning about all that stuff. So what is all the buzz about? This is what all of the buzz is about. This is our Silk All-in-One paint. It was just released by Dixie Belle. Only the elite dealers have it right now. We are lucky enough to be one of the elite dealers. We carry it over at Junction 71. So the all-in-one paint is different than the normal chalk and mineral paint that you are used to with Dixie Belle. So tonight, that's what I want to go over with you guys. How it is different, why is it different, the different ways that you would use this so that you understand why you would use this instead of the other, or why you would use the other instead of this. Hey, Dolores, how are you? So Dolores has visited us from Virginia. Dolores comes on a lot of my lives. Nice to see you on here, Dolores. All right. So what's really great is I actually have this awesome little cheat sheet right here. So I hope you guys don't mind, but I want to make sure I get everything out there that I need to say about it so that you guys have all the right information. All right. Here we go. And by the way, ask questions, because that's the only way that you're going to know everything you need to know about this paint. So make sure you ask questions. All right, so first of all, the most important thing is this is not a chalk paint. This is a mineral paint. The difference, chalk is a thicker paint, and it's made with different ingredients. The mineral paints are actually made with minerals, not chalk paint. It is a thinner consistency than using chalk paint. Why would you use this instead of chalk paint? All right, 2 reasons. Or actually, let's go back to why would you use chalk paint instead of this? Chalk paint is great when you're doing blending. It is a great self-leveler as well, but blending, using multiple colors blended into a piece, there's just certain times that a chalk paint will work best for you. And then we have the all-in-one, which would work good for you. So the all-in-one is great for one whole color. Hey, Cheryl. The other Cheryl's on today. Hey, Cheryl, how are you? So the chalk paint, I'm sorry, the all-in-one is perfect when you're using a single color. If you're going to be using anything with varied like shadings, we suggest use like a wax or the Dixie Dirt or something like that, or any of the gilding waxes in order to do shading with it. You don't want to try and blend until you got to really, okay, I feel like I'm saying the wrong things here. You can blend, but not the way you're used to. Okay, it's very difficult because you don't want to overwork the paint. So what I say is if you want to blend, use chalk mineral paint. If you want to do a single color, this is the paint for you. All right, so that being said, what is the differences? First of all, the one thing that is the same for both paints, whether you use the chalk mineral or you use them actually when you use any paint, okay, the first thing you want to do is you want to clean your piece thoroughly. Very important. You always want to clean your piece thoroughly because you don't want dirts that are going to stop your paint from adhering to whatever it is that you're using. You don't want any oils on there. You just want to have a nice clean surface because in all honesty, a good paint finish starts with how you prep your piece. So I'm going to go over again what I use to prep my piece because I tell everybody every single live that I do. I believe in this so much. So this is our Dixie Belle White Lightning. And the way the White Lightning works is you actually take a little bit of this. It's actually 2 tablespoons to a gallon of water. And I actually use like a scouring pad that we use in your sink. And I scour it with the water, You scour it because you want to scuff it, because the other thing is this is a deglosser. So this will help your paint stick to where you're at. So you scrub it really, really well, and then you're going to take it and you're going to rinse it with hot water until you have a clean rag. So you want to make sure you get all that white lightning off of there too, because it is a chemical. You don't want to paint on chemicals. Your paint will not stick if you do not rinse it off. All right, so that's the first thing. You want to remove any wax. If you have a piece that has like a wax coating on it, and you know how you can tell? If you go like this and scrape on it, if it's a wax coating, you can actually feel it with your fingernail. You can tell that there's a wax on there. If you have a wax coating, guys, white lightning will not work. You're going to have to use mineral spirits. I use the no odor mineral spirits. You can buy it any of the local stores, any of the local hardware stores. Okay. This does have a built-in primer. It's a blocking primer, okay? It's not an adhesion primer. It is a blocking primer. What that is that means that it helps with the bleed through that can come through. So Boss is not always needed now with this. Now I say not always because there's always that one piece, like mahoganies that have a deep red bleed through. You'll still want a Boss. The best way to look at this is if you put one coat of Boss on and then painted, that's what this is going to cover. If you feel like you have a really bleeder, I would suggest you put a coat of Boss on, then use this paint. Okay, so you definitely, so it has a built-in primer, and it has the paint, and it has a built-in top coat. It actually dries into a sheen. It's like it's not a gloss. It's almost like the best way to put it, we actually have it on here exactly how it comes up. It will be a low reflective finish is the way that they call it. It's a low reflective finish. So to me, it's almost like a satin finish. It almost dries to a satin finish. You're going to want to use 2 coats. Just like with the chalk mineral paints, you're going to use 2 coats of paint, and you are actually going to use a dry brush to put it on. I know when I teach people how to use the chalk mineral paints, any of the clay paints that are out there, I always say dampen your brush first. This is one time where I'm going to tell you you're going to use a dry brush. And it's best to use a synthetic brush. So what is the difference? Some people don't understand what synthetic to a rail brush is. So this right here, and I'm going to try and open it because this is a brand new brush we're going to use tonight. This right here is a synthetic brush. Do you see that? It's like a nylon feel to it. A regular hairbrush is not a synthetic, obviously, and that one actually will leave strokes. So that's why you don't want to do that. You don't want to have strokes. Somebody just asked, Cheryl said, I've not heard of using a scouring pad with the white lightning. What would you buy? I actually literally buy the grain pads that they have at the store. I get them at the hardware store as well. That's what I use, Cheryl. And I just go over it because I really want to scour all of that dirt and everything off of there. So yes, I do use the scouring pads on there. All right, so back to brushes. You want to use a synthetic brush. You don't have to have the most expensive brush in the world to do it. It's just got to be a good synthetic brush. I do recommend, I use Dixie Belle brushes as well as the Chalk Pro brushes that we carry and the Zebra brushes that we carry. I do use those, and the reason is because they're really fine filaments, and I like that they leave it with no brush strokes, all right? So that's the next thing. You're going to use 2 coats. Just remember, when you have cooler temperatures or hotter temperatures, it's going to take a little longer to dry, and you're going to wait 2 hours between a coat. So if you put on a coat and it feels it, hey, Lori, good evening. If you put on a coat, you can touch it to dry, and there are some that paint after an hour, and I say, I'm going to conservatively say you can try it. I personally, until we have more use of this, I will always wait the 2 hours, and then I do it. Now, if you're using a white and you're not sure if it's going to have the good priming blocker that you need, I would put the white down and wait 4 hours. And honestly, you're going to wait 4 hours with any paint when you paint with white before you start your second coat. So what happens is the way the tannings get pulled through on furniture is after time. It doesn't happen immediately. There's times like you'll paint a piece and then you'll go, oh, I didn't see any tannings. And then a week later, they come through. And a week later, or when you go to put your top coat on, because what's happened is it's pulling all that moisture up. Hey, Joyce. Oh, you're welcome for the information. Joyce said, thanks for the information. I really appreciate for saying thank you. So you're going to wait 4 hours. And then you're gonna take a look at your piece. If it looks like there might be some tannins coming through, there's not enough primer in the paint, and I would do just one coat of Boss over that and then paint again, and you're good to go. You'll be just fine. I've actually already used it on a set of chairs, and I did the same thing. So what happened is I put it on, but they're mahogany chairs, so they started coming through. I waited, I put on a coat of Boss, and now I'm putting on the second coat of the white cap, which is one of the colors, by the way. I'm gonna go over all the colors with you guys after. I'm gonna go over the junk now, and then we'll do the colors, and then we'll paint, all right? Okay, so it cures within 21 to 30 days. So just like any paint, so people say, oh, this paint is durable and it cures immediately. They're full of baloney. There's not a single paint out there that cures immediately. I don't care what paint you use, all right? The only paint that cures immediately is enamel paint when you bake it, because it pulls the water out. So that's what happens, and that's how paint cures. Paint is a hardener, and what happens is as it has a hardener in it. So as it cures, the water is pulled out of it, and that's what actually makes paint cure. So no matter what you paint with, no matter what top coat you put on it, there's always a chance of something slightly happening. Does it always? Not really. But there's always that chance, because it does take up to 30 days for any paint to cure. Some say 21, it's 21 to 30. So you take that window and you can be safe with your pieces of furniture. The viscosity, this is a very important thing. We have 20 different colors, but all of the colors could have a different viscosity to them, meaning like a different texture or thinness to them, depending on the pigments. Now remember, when you're white, you don't have as many pigments, so it doesn't cover as well. That's why you sometimes need more than 2 coats with a white. Our darker colors have more pigments in them, so they might be just a tiny bit thicker, but they are all a really creamy consistency. I will actually open up one to show you guys, because we're going to decide what color I'm going to start using on this piece back here. You guys are going to help me decide tonight. If you use the silk in a sprayer, you do not thin it to use it in the sprayer. You just use it directly. It is thin enough to go through a paint sprayer. So you do not need to thin this like you would thin any type of the chalk paints or the clay paints that you use. When you store your paints, guys, it is super, super important, and it is not just silk. Any paint that you have, you never want to be under 50 degrees or over 90. So if you're in Florida, don't store it in your garage. If you're in New England, once it hits fall, don't store it in your garage. Any paint could lose not just the consistency, but the durability and the things that are just behind it. They could break down. You want to make sure you store your paints in those. So for example, I actually have a climate controlled workshop. But if I didn't, I would be keeping my paints upstairs in my house, and I would bring them down to my workshop when I needed them, because I don't want to break down any of the integrity of the paint. And then the other thing is, if you are thinning out silk, say you're doing like a pour or something, because some people use them for pours, you only want to use no more than 1 ounce of water or Floetrol per 16 ounces. So you don't want to water it down, because you will break down the integrity of how the paint was made in the first place. All right. So that's a lot, actually. That's a lot of information about silk, but I really wanted to get it out to you guys, because we now have it in the store. Yay! We now have it available on our website. Yay! The only color that is not in the store, only because it was missing from our shipment and they are sending us more, is the Baja Gray. But we are going to go through all the colors right now. So this is going to be like for you guys. So I see that I've got a bunch of people on here tonight. I'm going to paint this behind me, but I want you guys to tell me which colors you think I should use. So I'm going to show you all the colors that we have in silk, and then I'll show you the colors that I have available to use tonight. And then I want you guys to tell me what you think I should paint this, okay? All right, so let's start with the first one. And by the way, these fan decks are available at the store. Bummer, that's the color I wanted. Cheryl, we got another shipment coming in. Cheryl said it's bummer she wanted the Baja Gray, but it's actually coming in so with our next shipment, so we'll have more. Don't you worry about it. We're going to keep ordering and ordering just because the initial shipment didn't have it in there. We'll make sure it comes in. All right, so let's start from the beginning. These fan decks are going to be in the store for you to see as well, and they are true to color. The one thing you have to remember is when you look at a paint in a jar, when it dries a different color. It'll look lighter as it's wet and it dries a little darker. So as you look at the color in the jar, just remember it always dries just a little bit darker. Have you ever gotten paint at Home Depot for a wall and they put a sample on it and then they blow dry it for you? The reason is because it darkens as it dries. All right, so this is Cape Current. Look at that color. That's a gorgeous blue. That's like a navy blue with a royal blue almost look to it. So people are asking me, what would I compare this to in the colors we have now? To me, that's more like a Yankee blue that in what the colors we have now. Harbor. Look how pretty Harbor is. To me, that's mermaid tail all day long. I'm pretty sure I'm right. It's a nice teal. Guys, I want you to pay attention to these colors because I'm going to show you the colors I have, and then I want you to tell me what I need to paint this behind me, all right? This is Hampton Olive. This has actually become a really popular color here in the United States. This was initially launched in Australia and England, and it was not a popular color there, but I've been told that this is one of the most popular colors that we have right now in it. So the Hampton Olive. This is Conch. I can't tell you how many people talk about how they don't say this right. It's conch, C-O-N-C-H. As you can tell, these are all sea colors or nautical colors, so that you'll know that they're sea colors. All right, and that's like a pink. So it comes from the inspiration from conch shells. It pairs with greens, whites, tans. And by the way, look at on the back here. It says everything on these color decks, what they pair with, so that you guys can kind of get an idea. Serenity. Serenity is just like the vintage duck egg. It is literally the exact duplicate of vintage duck egg. And I have that here tonight. So that's one of the colors that you guys will get to choose from tonight. Tide Pool. Tide Pool is like the sea glass that we have with Dixie Belle. So this is very similar to that. And do I have Tide Pool? And I have Tide Pool here tonight too. Quiet Cove. This is a really pretty blue. So to me, this is a mixture of our Stormy Seas and our Dusty Blue. It's a muted blue. They call it a blue gray. I do have Quiet Cove here tonight as well. Bay Breeze. So Bay Breeze it's like a blue, gray, white. It's almost like a, if anybody saw the piece that I just did, the really tall cabinet, it's a dresser. This is very similar to this. It's almost like the vintage duck egg with like a gray to it and a lighter tone of it. I actually really like this color, Bay Breeze. Oyster is a very light gray. This is very similar to our driftwood. So if you've used driftwood in, let me get a little closer so you guys see that. If you use driftwood in the Dixie Belle chalk paint mineral paints, that is very, very, very similar. Salt water. So this is an off-white. It has a little bit of a gray tone to it. This is very similar, I would say, to maybe the Sawmill Gravy, maybe a little less tan than the Sawmill Gravy. White Cap. White Cap is a pure white. We have two pure whites, and I'll get to the other pure white, but White Cap, I believe, is more of the pure white than the, that's what it is, it's the salt. Let me get them together here. Oh my goodness. So here is the two whites, and you can see saltwater has a little bit of a gray tint to it. White Cap is the pure. So this is more like the fluff. This is more like cotton in our Dixie Belle paints that we have now. Endless Shore is an off-white with the gray undertones. Now this one is more like Sawmill Gravy. Sunkissed, look how pretty that is. That's like Rebel Yellow. You guys can't see it from back there for some reason. I'm noticing that the color's not, I can see it on the screen. This is actually like the Rebel Yellow. It's a very pale yellow. It's a warm yellow. Are you guys noticing a theme here? These are all really muted neutrals of colors, almost like you would find in the Hamptons. And that's how they've designed these to be done. Sandcastle, this is a lot like the burlap with a little, or maybe the sandbar actually, with a little more in there. Jen says she loves the olive. Okay, we got one olive so far. Guys, I need you guys to vote and tell me, what am I gonna paint this thing as I go through these? and I want you guys to see it go on. This is the Baja Gray. This is the one that did not come in that I'm waiting for it to come in. This right here is one of the grays as well. And you're going to ask me, what does it compare to? I am not sure. I definitely think that this is like the Hurricane Gray. I'm not sure what this one is. Karen is saying olive as well. Hello, Karen. I didn't know you were on tonight. Wharf is like the Hurricane Gray as well. Nautical. Nautical is a navy blue. This is like a Bunker Hill blue that we have. It's a bright navy blue. I love this color. So bright. It's so out there. Oh, Quiet Cove. So, oh, we got two Quiet Cove. Oh, no, one Quiet Cove is Serenity, two olives. Let me get you all your votes in here, guys. Deep Sea. This is Deep Sea is a dark navy blue. This is exactly like in the navy that we have now through our Dixie Belle stuff. Black Sands is literally like midnight gray. It's almost like a charcoal gray. It's not black. It's like a charcoal look. And then we have Anchor, which is the pure black. All right, so I'm going to go over these colors back here so you guys know what I have. And I could tell you that I also have Deep Sea here with me. It's just in there. Jen said, oh my God, I like the olive too. I think I want a Quiet Cove. Is that the blue that kind of looks like periwinkle? So Quiet Cove is actually like a gray blue. It's almost like a, I'll put it up again just so you know. Another whole Hampton olive. I can't talk today. And then Serenity. So the Quiet Cove is more of a blue. That's it right here. I don't know why it looks like purple undertones in the video, but it really isn't. It's more of a blue. Maybe a slight purple, but that's it. It's more like the dusty blue mixed with the Stormy Seas. I had to think about that one for a second. So, all right, guys, I am going to show you what we have. All right. So I have Harbor. That's the Harbor. I'm going to turn it this way so you guys can see them. Put this down here. I have the Serenity. The Serenity is like the vintage duck egg. Oh, I think, Cheryl, are you telling me that you like Quiet Cove? We have the Anchor, which is the pure black. Tide Pool, which is like the sea glass. It's got like a minty green kind of look to it. Quiet Cove, which is that dusty blue look that we were talking about. Nautical, which is like Bunker Hill blue. It's the bright blue. This one I think is the one that I have the most on. This is the Hampton Olive. That is the green that everyone keeps talking about. And then I also have Wharf, which is like the darker gray. It's almost like it's got a little bit of a brown tint to it as well when you're seeing it in person. So, and that's the Wharf. All right. So I have 3 Quiet Cove. I have an Anchor. I have a Tide Pool. Let me see what else I got here, guys. I'm going to check all these comments out. Elena says she loves Nautical. Another Hampton Olive. Quiet Cove. Rita said she's using Anchor, so she's going to go with Anchor. Another Hampton Olive. Another Tide Pool. Ooh, I love Tide Pool. Another Hampton Olive. Serenity. Quiet Cove. Olive. All right. So, and then we got another Quiet Cove. All right. It looks like it's a tie right now between Quiet Cove and the Hampton Olive. So whichever one comes up next, that's what it is. So we need a tiebreaker. I need a tiebreaker. Which one are we going to use? Are we going to use the Hampton Olive or the Quiet Cove? I need one person that hasn't already voted to vote in here. Which one should we be painting this tonight? And I'm going to show you guys how this paint works. So I need one more person. Olive, there we go. All right, so we got another olive in there. So what I'm gonna do is I am gonna get my apron on. Okay, so the one thing, guys, I don't know if you guys ever noticed that I always wear an apron because this is what happens. If you guys can see, I paint all over my shirt. Oh, and then we have a cove. I might have to do 2 pieces just so I can show both. All right, so I'm gonna put on my apron because I will get stuff on. Cheryl said, here, I'll let you guys see what she put because I'm in New Hampshire. She said, you decide which one to sell better in New Hampshire. I have to tell you, Cheryl, I think they both sell in New Hampshire. They're actually very nice colors. They're very common colors of furniture that people like in New Hampshire. So we're going to go with the Hampton Olive. That did actually win out. So I'm going to clear out this comment, and then I'm going to open this up so you guys can see it. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to shake mine, because I do like shaking my paints, making sure they have everything in here that they need. I'm going to come to the side a little bit so you guys can watch me paint. Grab my brush. All right, when you guys get your paints, they actually have a plastic coating on them, and that comes off. And then when you open them, sometimes they have a seal on them. This one doesn't. All right. So this is my first time opening one of the silks, just to let you guys know. So we're doing this together. All right. I want you guys to see that color, and then I'm going to show you guys the consistency. You guys are used to the other consistency. This is the consistency that this is. Do you see how that just drips down? It's a much different consistency than we use the chalk paints. The other thing is you don't need a ton of paint on your brush. All right, so we're going to start over in here so that you guys can kind of watch it. All right, you ready? Wow, look how nice that goes on. And when you paint, no matter which paint you use, you should be using long strokes to go over it, and it helps minimize some of your brush strokes. Can you guys see how nice that's going on? What do you guys think of that color? To me, it reminds me of the Spanish moss that we carry in the Dixie Belle chalk mineral paints. To me, that's the color it reminds me of, because I've painted a ton of things. I'm actually working on a custom piece right now for somebody that I'm not surprised she's got on here. So that actually I've done a few pieces for her in the Spanish moss. Guys, I just want you to know that it's going on very smooth. It goes on seriously like butter. It's hard to explain. It just is sliding on, no dragging, no issues. It's a really smooth paint. It's a different consistency than what you're probably used to with your chalk paints. You can tell I have a new brush. I had a thing come down here. It's definitely a different consistency. It's a smoother, lighter consistency. It does feel like it goes on very, very smooth. I'm very impressed with how the consistency is putting it on. Can you guys see that? What do you guys think of that color? You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to lower the camera a little bit so you guys can see down as I am painting. Let me move these out of the way. And this. And then this is the color to this. I'm going to get these out of the way. And guys, I want you to ask any questions that you may have while I'm painting so you guys can see, so I can answer them. All right. And this is actually already drying. I can see it already drying while I'm putting it on because it's starting to darken up a little bit in some areas. And that was what makes me tell me that this paint is actually starting to dry already. And I don't know if you guys can see this, but there is no brush strokes. Now, if you get brush strokes in these paints, because they're not a chalk mineral paint, there can get brush strokes at times. You're just going to take a light sanding sponge and just lightly sand between your coat, and your brush strokes will go away. You shouldn't have them if you use a synthetic brush. That's the most important thing. Use a synthetic brush, because that's what's going to give you these awesome no brush strokes. Do you guys see that? No brush strokes. Cheryl said, how much paint do you use for a cabinet that size? So these paints do, let me write this down. I actually have this. It was 72 or 92 square feet. So for this, I would actually probably only use this much paint because it goes pretty far. Jen, I actually lightly scuff sanded this piece, and the only reason I did is because it had like a shiny lacquer to it. You would only need to scuff paint if there's a shiny lacquer. If it's just like a raw wood or raw wood that doesn't have any type of a shininess to them, you wouldn't have to scuff or paint it. And you can scuff it using just a 220 pad, 220. I use my rad pads. If you guys haven't used a rad pad, we do carry those at the store as well. They're really cool. They're bendable. They get into every little crevice. That's what I use just to scuff this up a little bit. And that's all. Otherwise, you don't need to. If you clean it really well with the White Lightning, it's a deglosser that will help you so that you don't have to scuff it. I really recommend the White Lightning because it is a deglosser as well, which is really important if something has a finish on it. All right, I'm going to get down here. Wow, I am impressed with how this is going on. So that's the color of this. Can you guys see how nice? That's just the first coat. You'll notice on the first coat that it looks like it's not getting a lot of coverage. That is common and that is okay. That's not true. So what happens is when you put that first coat on, it'll make it look like you're not getting a lot of coverage. But then when you go back and do that second coat, it's crazy. All of a sudden, everything just disappears. And then it's nice and smooth. And the best part about it is once you do that second coat, you don't have to go back and do anything else to it. Dolores asks, can you decoupage over this paint? What about stencil? Yes and yes. So you can stencil, you can wood bend, you can decoupage, you can do anything you do with the other paints. You just, except for the blending. I do think that the blending is an issue, that you would have to not use this. I would use the Dixie Belle paints for the chalk mineral paints for blending. But otherwise, everything else is the same. It's just that you don't have to top coat or prime. So yes, and then the good thing, Dolores, too, is that this has to have a top coat, so that's a little extra of something that's going to grab onto your decoupage if you do the iron-on method, which is what I do, is the iron-on method. I'm going right over my hardware, and it's covering the hardware really, really nice as well. I'm going to finish up this little part here, and then I'm probably going to call it for the night. I'm not going to paint this whole thing tonight because my main concern was to come on and teach you guys and let you know that it is up and about and ready to go. Cheryl said, I know it doesn't need a top coat, but doesn't it dry with a matte finish? It actually dries with a low reflective finish. It's like, the best way to describe it is like a satin. It dries with like a satin, a low reflective finish. It's really, really pretty. I have seen it on a couple pieces that somebody I know painted, and it does locally, and it does have a nice reflective finish. What I'm going to do is tomorrow night, I'm actually painting again. I'm painting on the Dixie Belle page, and I'm going to be doing another color on a different piece. So you guys, if you want to join in on the Dixie Belle page, either I'm going to share it over onto my JJB Designs page. But this is going to dry tonight, and then I'll do another second coat, and maybe I'll video the second coat so you guys can see what it looks like, because I'm not going to paint anymore tonight. Would you leave it with just that or finish it with a coverage? Jen, I'm not going to put any top coat on this. This actually has a top coat built in. It's an all-in-one paint. So that means it has a stain blocking primer to it, and it has a top coat to it. So you don't have to top coat this. I'm not going to top coat this. I'm going to leave it just the way it is when it's done painting. I am going to do 2 coats for the coverage. As you can see, as a matter of fact, let me see if I can bring that in. I want to see if I can bring you guys in just a little bit more so you guys kind of see the coverage. I don't know. Here we go. Can you guys see that? So that's just a little bit more a closer look so you guys can see. If you look in here, you can still see some of the wood grain a little bit on this, and that's because of the fact that the way that it clings on, you just need 2 coats. It's not a chalk paint, so you definitely need 2 coats. The other thing I'm going to recommend, which I didn't bring with me, is when you're painting, make sure you have a bag to put this in if you stop and you're talking like me, or rinse it, because it will dry fairly quickly on your brushes. It does dry a little bit faster than the chalk paint does too. Allison, I think it's a beautiful color too. It's funny because I wasn't sure that this would be a popular color, and they're saying how popular it is, and I actually like it. It looks just like the Spanish moss that we use in our chalk linoleum. Last question, is there a piece you wouldn't use this type on? If I was going to do a blending on a piece, so I blend up paints, and so yes, I would not use it on a blended piece, and I wouldn't use it. I like to use chalk paints if it's a piece that has a lot of divots and stuff on it that I want to give it a texture, because it's just going to be too much to repair the finish. And I'll texture it, and I'll use like stenciling and things like that. I'll tend to use a chalk paint on that, and then that's about it as far as that goes. And Kathy said, will the piece be for sale? Yes, this piece will be for sale. It'll be for sale in Junction when it's done. I'm hopefully to have it done on it. Look, actually, I got to show you guys. This already dried, and look, I'm rubbing and it's not coming off. It dried right here. The paint is not coming off. That's awesome. That means that it's adhering really well, and it hasn't even cured yet. Yaya Chana said, where can I buy this all-in-one paint? You can buy it through our website, or you can buy it locally at Junction 71. It's available either way for you. Jen said it's so pretty. Thank you, Jen. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But yes, this will be available. I am going to paint tomorrow night with Bay Breeze is the color that I'm going to be using on it's a dusk actually. So if you guys want to join in tomorrow night and check things out, you can see it on there. All right, guys. I just want to thank everybody. I'm sorry. I just want to fix this real quick. I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight so I could teach you guys about silk, let you know it's available. I am super, super excited. Nothing like an all-in-one, cutting down your time that you're working on something. And remember, it's 20 colors. Look, it's 20 colors. 20 colors. And they're available online as well as in the store. You're welcome, Yaya. And Michael, hello. How are you? Cheryl, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. You are very welcome. I love giving tips and I love teaching. So guys, also just to let you know, if you guys ever have questions about any of the Dixie Belle paints, anything that is in Junction 71, because if you guys don't know, we're actually on the Junction 71 page as well. You guys can always, always message me on my Facebook page. It's at JJ Bean Designs, or email me at cheryl@jjbeandesigns.com. I will answer all questions for you, just to let you know. Always answer all questions for you, no matter what it is. Send me pictures of your projects. You don't know what to do with them. You want some ideas, just send them to me. I'm always willing to help. Even if it's not a paint that I personally carry, if it's any of the paints at Junction, just reach out to me. And if I don't know the answer about that paint, I can get it for you. I'll always be there to help you guys. All right, everybody. I hope everybody has a wonderful night. I am going to go have dinner with my husband. All right, guys. See you later. Thank you for tuning in and learning all about the Silk All-in-One. It's now available. Woo-hoo. Let me get this to shut off. There we go.